Ryan.
What's going on, everybody? This is Jacob Shoup. You're watching the Tom O'Brien Show. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Seems like they always go by too quickly. Man, how about that market today? What a reversal, at least from trading on Sunday. And then really pre-market today, you kind of take a look at everything. It looks like they're kind of just testing lows. The SPY was really hit the hardest. If you look at some of the other equities, you know, they had this bounce on the gap up. SPY really kind of ate a lot of that. And we kind of just testing lows right now from about March 13th. It seems like we're rejecting, which is obviously, you know, somewhat bullish, I would suppose. Taking a look at Tesla as well. Okay, it seems to be capitulating maybe just a little bit, but that is purely just testing that gap up, and it seems like it is rejecting it. You're off almost 5% right in the beginning of the day here. Kind of improved, being off about 1.37%. Now we're off about 2%. In Tesla, you have Roku off about 2.92%. Vuzi off 10. Yeah, Palantir is getting sold off as well. So we'll see if this is kind of, again, a bounce off of, you know, I mean, really, you're right around before you launched up, right? So this isn't anything necessarily insane. Of course, there's a lot of conversation around the yen carry trade unwinding. Japanese stock market obviously was hit pretty heavily last night. Things seem to be kind of improving just a little bit. The yen giving back some of its gains that it was having earlier. What's that trading at? Is that 6Y or 6J, I'm assuming? Yeah. So you're getting futures just a little bit off currently. Speaking on that, the dollar remains somewhat strong up at 104.20. And then your 10-year yields are coming off just a little bit. I believe they're around 4.3 earlier this morning. Let's take a look what they are now. Yeah, about 4.23. So that's nice kind of movement. I think you were trading about 4.3 earlier this morning. You have the SPY trading up about 0.37%. Composite clearly getting hit quite a bit. That did clear its lows from around March 13th. Looks like it's probably not going to rebound above that level today, but we've seen insane stuff in the last hour of trading. And it looks like it's testing that September 6th level. There's a lot of conversation around everything with data centers right now, okay? I mean, obviously, NVIDIA's off about 203%. I believe you traded around 104 earlier. You had a low about 103.46 in NVIDIA. I mean, even taking a look at Amazon, right? I mean, this is an interesting kind of thing, you know, with your Magnificent Seven. And, you know, in theory, and we were kind of talking about this as well, right? Where the Magnificent Seven was getting all of, you know, the attention, right? And we'd posited potentially you're going to start seeing that breadth between the Magnificent Seven and, let's say, you know, the rest of the S&P 500, the unmagnificent 493 or whatever the heck. You might see that breadth narrowing this year, and it seems like we're kind of seeing something a little bit similar with that. But you know, it was kind of interesting. Someone had been talking about, let's take a look here, where Amazon is trading back, you know, not much higher than where you were in like 2021. You know, obviously you had this massive kind of sell-off in December 2022, and they're saying that that is a good sign that this equity is undervalued. And you know, my kind of problem with that, I think, is that we have been seeing, at least on the last yearlies, still some growth in these equities, especially ones that are involved with cloud, but you're seeing a contraction in that growth, right? And it may be that, you know, you're starting to, it seems like we're going to be in a higher interest rate environment for much longer. I personally think, you know, if there's any rate cuts this year, it'll be like one or something. I don't see what the reason for a rate cut would be currently, because things still seem to be functioning relatively well, all else equal. Of course, all else is not equal. You know, I mean, does that kind of environment support super high PEs, right, in tech companies? And argue they probably don't. and I'm not saying Amazon now is flat and sells off from here, but I just, for some reason, I just don't really like that comparison. It's like, hey, you're trading back to 2021. This is highly undervalued. And I mean, definitely Amazon has grown. But if you remember kind of that time period in 2021, there was a lot of speculation in these stocks, especially in tech in particular. And now there's a big question around, kind of the feasibility of these large data centers, right? And does the CapEx really make sense? And does the, output kind of justify that CapEx? So, we'll kind of see what happens with that. I mean, for the past few months, I've not been bearish against NVIDIA, but I definitely haven't been, hyped on it like I think a lot of people kind of are. And I mean, this chart is kind of, rough. What I do think is very interesting in NVIDIA is them kind of expanding their product line, right? So I mean, yeah, obviously they're sticking with these kind of GPUs, and they have, what is perceivably a decent moat because everyone is used to the CUDA system. I'm in the camp that in the future AI or whatever these large systems are going to be are probably not going to be as dependent on GPUs as they seem to be now. I think, again, you could see things like DeepSeek kind of proving that. I don't think that DeepSeek or any kind of distilled AI necessarily needs to use GPUs. And I definitely see a realm where, kind of things like AVG, like Broadcom essentially, kind of the stuff that they make with the ASICs is a lot more appealing. I think Google's TPU is very interesting. Again, this is more energy efficient, right? But all of this is kind of just speculation going forward. So, but as it stands now, I think NVIDIA probably bounces a little bit off this level. I think it's still, a pretty dominant equity. They're still pretty integral to this build out. And again, I think this is just a lot of questioning whether or not these data centers kind of make sense at the magnitude they are currently. I do like them expanding into things, like what they're doing with GM and EVs. I think that's very forward thinking of NVIDIA. So, I mean, obviously you can't ignore it. But to me, it doesn't seem like this is like the absolute buying opportunity. But folks, stay right there. I'll be right back.